Tonight, in KSLA Investigates, the rise in synthetic drugs like fentanyl and methamphetamines has caused a deadly crisis for years. That's according to the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration. And opioid overdoses have trended down since the nationwide pandemic, but officials are working really hard to get that number to zero. And our investigative NLA team takes a look at trends in North Louisiana and focus on fentanyl.
One hit of this drug and lives are changed forever.
Drugs don't discriminate. Heroin, fentanyl, methamphetamine, these things don't discriminate. And what you're seeing is a lot of fentanyl poisoning.
An opioid addiction changed Kyle Berman's life.
Look, I wanted to be a marine biologist when I was a kid. I didn't want to become a drug addict. This is not the path that I have been on and the things that I've been through and seen. I used to live in a tent behind Pep Boys on North Lake Boulevard for the better part of 2 years. Been to jail 9 times, as well as many psychiatric and rehab facilities.
He was able to get clean and turn his life around. Others weren't so lucky. In May 2021, a driver died after a single vehicle crash in Greenwood with his child in the car. The child miraculously survived. While the driver died from injuries in the crash, further testing showed he was unconscious before the crash after overdosing on fentanyl pills. Officials confirmed the driver died from that overdose. Many in North Louisiana don't know that fentanyl could be mixed in with other recreational drugs.
It's rarely just fentanyl that's detected in a case, and in particular in some of our death cases that we handle. It's fentanyl plus methamphetamine. Fentanyl and methamphetamine plus a prescription level of Xanax. And so to talk about a fentanyl problem without also addressing that there's a very serious methamphetamine problem in this state, it does us a disservice. One almost always leads to the other.
Investigate NLA went to the North Louisiana Crime Lab and saw up close which drugs are flowing through our part of the state every day. System Director Joseph Jones says the amount of drugs making its way north spiked during the pandemic.
Yeah, whenever you look at the data from the crime lab prior to 2020, really before that COVID time frame, for the most part, you'd see somewhere around 10 to 50 cases or submissions each year. And then you get to 2020. And in 2020, that's where things really started to get exponentially larger, to where instead of 10 to 50, now we'd see upwards of 400 to 500 submissions. And that's an incredible amount of growth.
But it's not always the same drug or even the same form of the same drug that makes its way to every city or parish. Jones says it's regional, which makes it that much more challenging for officials to track down. He says South Louisiana is more likely to see fentanyl or fentanyl-laced products in powdered form. But in North Louisiana, the danger often lies in pills that people don't know are laced with trace amounts of fentanyl.
It's somewhat challenging, and to me personally, it's fascinating about the state of Louisiana. It's almost like a gradient across the state. When we look at North Louisiana, from Caddo Parish all the way out to the Ouachita region, we really don't see a whole lot of powdered fentanyl, but rather they're stamped pills that are quite immaculate, to be honest with you. Whenever you look at them, everything from the glycerin coating to the stamping that's on it, it looks like a legitimate pharmaceutical type of drug, but it's not.
Jones says there's another added risk with street pills. The amounts of each drug can vary from dose to dose. One pill may have little or no fentanyl, while the next could have enough fentanyl to kill someone.
For many people, I mean, if you're not getting your drugs from a pharmacy, that's an enormous red flag that likely whatever you think that pill is, it's not.
We sat down with the acting U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Louisiana to find out exactly what they're up against as they crack down on opioids.
Well, the challenge sometimes is there's more than one drug in the body, and so there's an enhanced penalty there, and so we have to prove that the drug caused the serious bodily injury or death. In the case of a forensic pathologist saying that the death was due to a fentanyl overdose.
Acting U.S. Attorney Alexander Van Hook says legal officials have changed their strategy to better handle cases involving fentanyl. Over the years, it's led to changes that allowed officials to make sure suspects face harsh enough penalties, especially when a life is lost.
We realized several years ago that we were having people that thought that they were buying heroin, for example, and they were getting fentanyl, or buying something else and getting fentanyl, and it, causing death or serious bodily injury. So we reduced those drug quantities that we look at for those cases, and we'll take smaller cases just because they're so dangerous.
For those who have found their way to recovery, like Berman, the question now becomes how to help those who are still struggling.
I lost 21 friends and my little sister to overdose. And that's what this is born out of.
There are many resources for treatment and emergency responses to overdoses like Narcan. His company, OD Revive, uses technology to bridge the gap.
But ultimately, think of it as the missing link that connects the people experiencing an overdose to the people who have Narcan, right? So what it does is it measures certain vital signs in the person, and when those drop below the threshold indicative of an overdose, it alerts their emergency contacts with location for a prompt responsive naloxone or Narcan to be delivered.
Local companies are using newer therapies to target opioid addiction at the cellular level with medication-assisted treatment or MAT therapy. Nurse practitioners at Hope Recovery Clinic in Shreveport use medication designed to reduce the brain's craving for opioids.
It stimulates the opioid receptors, so a partial stimulator of the opioid receptors in the brain. But it doesn't stimulate all the way to the point, it's not as strong as a regular pain medication like Lortab or Norco or Percocet.
They still carry out all their daily activities and live a normal life on it.
Yeah. And that's how you can live, drive and operate heavy machinery and still walk around and not be sleepy because it's only a partial agonist.
But it's not only about the medication for these patients or for their support systems.
We have counseling here monthly, and we educate our patients about it, and we would like them to come at least monthly or find their own counselor.
Whether patients take MAT therapy or try other routes to recover, experts say it takes determination to reach sobriety.
That's where they come to us. And then the biggest part is the willingness to get better. You have to be willing to do it. I can't do it for you. She can't do it for you.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to do it. And you have to be willing to put the work into it.
And commit.
And commit, because you have good days and bad days just like you do with anything else.
Jones says it's extremely important for anyone seeking pain relief to only get it from trusted medical professionals instead of seeking relief on the streets.
It's changed dramatically. What I've noticed really over the last 10 years is a misguided trust in a product in an unregulated scene. And so whether that's just a product that you buy at a vape shop that you think is what it says on the container, or if it's something that is actually conveyed through our borders, through cartels, etc. And so in that, you think that if you're purchasing something that it is 100% pure, and that is rarely ever the case. And in fact, you often find things inside those that are perhaps even more harmful than the drug that you were trying to use.
It's that uncertainty that drives Berman to help save as many lives as he can through his own lived experience.
And that's the thing. You're seeing people who don't have a tolerance for opiates that maybe just use methamphetamine, but the meth has fentanyl in it and they overdose and die. Or you're just seeing kids experimenting, going off to college, or and we're not even talking just about addicts that are dying. That's the thing about this, is it doesn't discriminate.
Now, if you or someone you know needs help, there are many resources, and we wanted to make sure that as we did this story, we put them all in a comprehensive place. So when you find a story on our website, ksla.com, under the Investigates tab, we also have a full list of local resources, both for our viewing areas here in the Arklatex, as well as Northeast Louisiana. So I want to show you what the resource page for the Arklatex looks like. If you click on it, you'll see the full web story. This also has, exclusive interviews that are digital exclusive, but you can see here here it's sorted by state, so we will try to connect you to as many places as possible that can help for people, whether you're in recovery yourself or you have a family member or a loved one who you're trying to help. And I wanted to make one more point that we talked to experts about as we were doing this story. We mentioned Narcan. That's a very helpful tool. Anyone can use it, but it's very important if you're going to administer Narcan, make sure you're getting that person who you've administered the Narcan to medical professionals afterwards so they can be monitored and receive more treatment. So we hope that you'll take this story into consideration and keep this resource page saved in case you never know. It could happen to anybody, so we want to make sure that these are resources that you have for whenever you may need it.